Hey guys, welcome back to another series tutorial. So this is a 10-day series tutorial where I will explore the Gutenberg. Not the explore, there has been a lot of tutorial that I have shared already in my YouTube channel, but this will be 10 days challenge. So if you have already watched all of the beginner friendly tutorials from my channel, all of the series that I published regarding the Gutenberg, then this is time to scale up yourself. And in this 10 days challenge, I will give you some homework, and also at the same time I will share with you from beginner to advanced level design and customization using only the default block. So here I'm not going to use any custom code, any custom CSS code. I'll be only using the default block and without any single line of code. Let's get started our first day challenges. So here you can see I have added 10-day challenge and there is a bonus days. I'm not going to show you all the designs here today, but let's explore the day one. So the day one where I will explore or explain the row, grid and stack. This is very important. If you want to become a great designer, like a customization or Gutenberg expert, you have to understand the row, the grid and the stack, how the row, grid, stack and group works. So basically there is a lot of use cases that we are going to learn here in this 10 days challenge, where it's very essential to understand the row, grid and stack, and that's why I keep this part as a day one. Now let's go back to the WordPress editor and then click add new. So let's type here row, close this one, and I'm using the default WordPress theme. You can use any kind of WordPress theme, but I highly recommend you, when you practice yourself, use the default WordPress theme, 2025 WordPress theme. So first of all, we're gonna understand how the row works. So I'm going to take a heading here, row, and now let's add group first. And to understand the row, I'm going to add several groups here and then make them as a row. So let's add some background color here, and also at the same time add some padding top and bottom. Now I just added padding top and bottom and added only one group item here. As you can see, there is only one group item. So I'm going to duplicate this group several times. So as you can see, there is a shortcut key, Command Shift D. So you can use shortcut key from your keyboard. It will help you to speed up the process. Like I'm gonna use the shortcut key here to duplicate them, and I'm going to change the color here, yellow, and add some random color, or you can use the brand color or any kind of color. It doesn't matter. We are learning right now. So I have added few random colors here, and each one group, each one working as a div here. So as you can see, when I add new group, it looks like this. Like it has some width options when I click here, and there is some other options here. But we are not going to explore the group options as of now. We are gonna explore the row first. So let's select all of them. And here you can see I just selected all of them using pressing the shift. So when you want to select all of them, just select the group or the items that you'd like to select. Just select that block and then press shift from your keyboard and then select the one where you want to group all of them or select all of them. So as you can see here, I just select the top one and the last one. That means I want to select all of them from here. Now here you can see at the top toolbar, there is options called group, there is options called row, and we are going to understand the row and the possibilities how the row works. Now when I select the row here, as you can see, it looks like this. So it means if you are using a lot of items, like if you are using any items that can be row one by one, and or basically we learn as a column here. So it will like say column, but it will adjust automatically based on a number of elements inside this item. Let's type here, this is test text. So as you can see, it adjusted its size based on the element inside this row, which is really useful. And we are going to explore this one in our next days, where we'll be working this row widely, and it will help you to understand the real use case and scenarios, how the row works. Let's explore some other functions inside the row. So when I select the row, you can see here there is the list view, and I have selected the parent items called row. And from here, you can see there is some other information. When I select the row and the settings items, the settings item here, you can see there is justify item center. That means it doesn't matter what type of elements inside this row. When you select the justifications or justify center, it will display all of them together at the center. And when I select the justify items right, it will display everything to the right side. So as of now, the row has fixed width 645 pixel, but if I want to make it wide width, it will look much better. And let's add some background color here. Let's add a light background color. So there's a light background color that I have added inside the row. And now there is a group. It's working as a div. If you're familiar with the HTML, CSS, I believe you are familiar with that. But if not, doesn't matter. Just imagine it's every single item as a div or a block. Now it's displaying all of them at the right hand side, or the justify item right. Now if I select the third one or fourth one, space between, as you can see, it space or take a space every single item and create some gap between them. So that means if you want, you can do a lot of things using these awesome features. So you might be thinking that this is just a blog and why we need to learn this. So it's really useful when I'm going to explore the next days and the next design and other parts for this series tutorial. So now this is just a very simple idea here, and there is a few other things. The orientation, which is another important part inside the row. If you take a look at here, there is a vertical and horizontal row here. So when I select the vertical, the rows will be displaying like this. So basically it will change the view here. If you take a look carefully, it's going to be stack. So when I change it to vertical, it's selected or changes by default as a stack. And when I select horizontal, it's like row. Okay, so there's another things like wrap and multiple lines. When you are using multiple lines, and it can be easily wrapped together. So this is another useful things, and we're gonna explore those items in real life scenarios here. I'm not going to expend so much time in row. There is some another things like stack. We have already heard about the stack, but there is an interesting part inside the stack. When I stack, by default, the stack has justifications on the left side and the center and at the right side. But there is another thing, which is stretch. The stretch item is not available inside the row. In some cases, we have to use stretch the layout many times to adjust the height or adjust the level of any column or any sections. While stretching items is very important, and at that situations, we have to use grid and other items. But here at the same time, when you're using the stack, you can stretch the layouts on the left and right side to your container area. So it's stretched to the left and right edge together. And now if you just take a look at here, there's left, right. When I select left, right, top, bottom, it just stack at that place. And if I add anything here, let's add something. Let's add some text here. This is sample text. It's expand itself. Like this is, let's add another text. This is another sample text. So as you can see, it's working like a display inline block. So if you're not familiar with the code, then do not have to worry about that. Display block means it will block the whole area from edge to edge, and display inline will block only that part where the text or the object is available, the length of the object. So the easiest way to understand the length of the object or the length of the text that is taking here, which is the inline block. Like when I select here stretch layout, so this is the block, like it's display block completely, it's blocked the whole area. And we can change the justifications here, we can change the center, we can change right. And there is a very interesting things that we are gonna learn here. When I go to the styles, you can see here there is a block spacing. Like previously we have added spacing like using margin, using padding. So you can still use margin and padding here. Like if I want to add some padding bottom, we can select the group item, go to the styles and unlink here and add some padding bottom. So as you can see, I just added the padding bottom here. But if you think you'd like to add some spacing, you can use margin here. But what about, I do not want to use padding margin, instead I just want to use spacing between them. We can change the padding, we can change the margin individually, and we can at the same time we can also, let's reset this one. Okay, so at the same time we can also gap or adjust the gap between them. Like when I select the stack, it will be available inside the styles and then go to the block spacing. So you can see here there is a block spacing. When I increase the block spacing, it creates a space between the item. Let's change the view to stack. You can see here it creates some space between this item. Still it's displaying as justification left. Now if I go to styles again and reduce the block spacing, so there are two ways the block spacing works. Whether you're using stack, the stack means 1 by 1 by 1, and the row means column. It's very easy to understand. When you're using a stack, it will add some spacing between them. Okay, so that's it, and I hope you understand how the stack and row works. And the group is very simple. You can simply group them. So I'm gonna explore the grid later, but for group you can easily group them. Like let's say there is some elements here. This is paragraph. Okay, let's type here heading. This is heading, and let's say for an example you have icons. By default there is no icons, so I'm gonna use a social icon here. Let's use WordPress. Well, now let's say I want to make them group. So I can simply select social and then press shift and then press paragraph and make them group. Or I can use my keyboard Command G to make them as group. I can just duplicate them, Command Shift D from here. I can make them group here and then create them row. So as you can see, this is very easy, and instead using the column here, we can use row. Still, there are a lot of use cases where we are gonna use the column as well. The column is also available here. So let's make it white, and it looks like this. So here I'm not gonna use a perfect design, or not going to create any perfect design for this tutorial. So it's all about the groups and stack, grid and rows. So now let's explore the grid items here. So the grid is very useful, and we're gonna use so many times when we are building any WordPress websites. And inside the grid, you can create almost any kind of layout. If you master these 4 items, row, grid, stack and group, you'll be able to create any kinds of layouts. So let's explore the grid. Before adding grid, I'm gonna take some spacing here. And now let's type here grid. So you can type here grid, or you can use group, then convert that group as a grid. Like you can use also row, then convert that as a grid. Let's say click over here, it's just displaying as a row. Click here, it's displaying as a group. Click here, it's displaying as stack. Now if I click here, it will be displaying as a grid. Let's make the grid full width here. So as you can see, the full width, when I make it full width, it's displaying initially 5 columns, and the 5 columns will depends based on number of REM that I have selected here. So as you can see, it's now displaying 2 columns. If I select here and click over here, it will gonna displaying 4 columns. So it's all about the REM. So REM basically calculate the exact size, like 1300. Here you can see 1340 pixel wide. So this is the exact size, and the REM calculate under this area or container sizes. So we can use pixel as well, but the REM would be a perfect fit for this kind of grid items. And now let's take a look at some other example here. Let's add 12 REM, which is ideal settings for REM, like 5 columns. If you want 12 columns, then you can decrease. Like as you can see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns. If you want 12 columns, you can reduce the 12 column grid as well. So let's count here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there is 2 additional columns here. We can adjust that. Let's add 5 here. So this is just a random example that I'm gonna just playing around here and there. Now for an example, let's make it, usually we use as required, like let's say I want this 4 column here, and we're gonna use this based on the design that we have. So the most important things or interesting thing is, let's add a group here and type that group as a div. So I'm gonna imagine that each and every single one has a div items, and if I click over here, I can change this div. Let's change it, and as you can see, I just make this div like drag and drop here. So I can also increase here. Let's add. So currently there is no additional items, and that's why let's duplicate, Command Shift D. So I just duplicate D and let's Command Shift D. So as you can see, there is another div. Let's add some background color so that you can understand more perfectly. And let's add here. Well, now let's say I want to make this div as a 2 row down, and I want to make this div just a single row down, and let's add another div here or another color here. So as you can see, using only the grid, I have added 3 divs here, and each and every single div takes its own places. If you want, you can reduce its size here, and you can increase, or you can just add another div here. Let's add another group here, and let's type here as div. So you can keep it as a group or whatever it is useful for you basically. Let's add some background color here. Okay. So somehow it's not going to taking its own place. Maybe it's due to the flow here, like it's flowing down from left to right, and that's why. We can adjust this one here as well, and let's down here. So there's many ways that you can utilize this grid, and there are many steps that you can apply design here. Just select the grid as of now and take a look at here. There is a position, and if I go to the position, basically will allow you to add a sticky and the default one. Now if I go to the styles tab here, you can see there are several styles, style 1, 2, 3, or it's not necessary as of now, but it just styles like to reduce the gap between the items here and there. Let's keep it default to understand how it works. Now if I increase the padding, it will gonna add or increase the padding the whole grid area. And if I increase this one as a padding left and right, it will gonna add some padding on the left and right side. Let's reduce that, and this is margin. And the block spacing will help you to increase the spacing between the grid item. So as you can see, when I add the block spacing, it just increase the space between each and every single items here. And this is how it works. Now, if I go to the design or styles tab, you can see there's a typography, and the typography has a lot of things like font, appearance, light, line height, letter spacing, decoration, and letter case as well. And when I select the dimensions, there's already padding, margin, and block spacing and minimum height, which is not selected here, which is not changeable. And there is a minimum height here. You can adjust the minimum height as well by changing its value, and as you can see, it's adjusting itself. And the border radius, at the same time, there is a box shadow, so you can apply the shadow as well. But as of now, there is no elements and no items here, and that's why it looks like this. So the first day is all about the theoretical day or educational day. So that's it for today, and in our next part, we're gonna create a new sections using the grid, loops, and other features from Gutenberg. Stay tuned for days 2.